This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
The second edition of the Kip Keino Classic in Nairobi served up a feast of explosive track and field action as top athletes from around the world gathered in Kenya for the World Athletics Tour Gold event. In tonight's sports scene, we relive the fitting finale to the international athletics season and other stories making big headlines in sports from around Africa. Hello and welcome to your weekly sports program that brings you all the sporting news and reviews from an African perspective. We will highlight the thrill of victory while also showing you the agony of defeat. I'm Richard Nta in Nairobi. Put on your seatbelts, get ready, let's get started. Here's what's coming up in the show. It's a heroic welcome for Tunisia on their return home after bagging a third men's African nations volleyball title in a row. And in motorsport, Cape Town relishes the opportunity to host the Formula E World Championship next year. Well, welcome in. Just like that, sports scene is on the air. We'll get to those other stories in just a moment, but how about we start with athletics? The international track and field season formally closed last weekend with the Kip Keino Classic in Nairobi. The only World Continental Gold Tour event in Africa was a fitting climax to the athletics calendar with a stacked field delivering a memorable meet. CGTN's Susan Wangeli brings us this report.
In a country famed for long-distance running, it was the sprinters who stole the show. American Trayvon Bromell was the undisputed star of the meet when he won the men's 100 meters in 9.76, the fastest time this year and the 6th fastest of all time.
I can say yeah, I can also say no. I ran 9.77 earlier in the year, so I feel like it probably helped. I just tried to focus on ending this season strong. I didn't really think too much about altitude.
Fellow American Fred Kerley ripped the track in the men's 200 meters, running the fast serve 20 seconds on Kenyan soil. Botswana's Isaac Makwala followed him home in 20:06, with the former African men's 400 meters champion hinting at dropping down the distance following his performance.
I'm really happy about my time today. So I ran my season best. I came here with a season best of 20.15. So I ran 20.06 now. I've qualified for the World Championship. So I think I'm happy about the way I ran. I thought I won't run that fast. Look at the season. It's been a long season. So I think I'm so happy about it.
Namibian rising star Christine Boma closed her campaign in emphatic fashion by motoring to a 22.39 seconds victory in the women's 200 meters. Behind the teenager who won the silver at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics was Cote d'Ivoire star and two-time World Championship silver winner Marie-José Talou.
Nothing went wrong, When I come here, I didn't expect anything because I'm not good. I'm not 100% fit and good. I have pain in my leg, but I thank God to be able to run. Before coming, I thank the physio of Namibia who just touched me to be able to run that 200 meters because I didn't know I was going to run. So being able to run with that pain, it's real. Thanks God for that one. So.
Despite the lack of funds in the stadium, the second Kip Keino Classic delivered a meet worthy of the gold status as it enhanced its reputation as one of the best events outside the Tier 1 Wonder Diamond League. Susan Wangeli, CGTN.
All right, for more on the Kip Keino Classic, we are delighted to be joined by sports journalist and sports management consultant Wanjiko Mwenda here in Nairobi. Wanjiko, welcome to Sports Scene. Wanjiko, the Kip Keino Classic is only 2 years old. Well, it appears that we've lost Wanjiko. Hopefully we'll get her back. We apologize for that technical delay. Hopefully we'll get her back as soon as possible. But let's move on to the next story regarding the Kip Keino Classics. The 2021 Kip Keino Classic, Africa's only World Athletics Continental Tour Gold event left fans yearning for more. Now, it was a fitting end to the international athletics season on an Olympic year. Let's relive some of the unforgettable moments from the high-octane track and field action. Let's take a look.
This was a great way to end my season. After questioning a lot of things, we're not performing the way I wanted to perform, like how I showed you all at the beginning of the season. It's a good way to go home and regroup and focus on next year.
I'm actually grateful. I've won today, and it was my target to win in my home soil.
The race was great. Even though I didn't run a PB or didn't run a good time, it's good for me to end here in Kenya and here in Africa, the motherland.
Sufyan Bakali, he's there not for fighting with guys from Kenya. This is only classic meeting, last meeting. He's coming here to see the condition, maybe for make training next year there with some friend. All guys running steeplechases is all friendly. Not for fighting. This is normal, classic meeting.
It's Kelly and Makwala. Kelly in the front now. Makwala is second, but losing ground on Kelly.
I'm trying to drop down to go to 100 and 200. So that's my plan for next year.
All right, we turn to weightlifting. That remains a Cinderella sport in South Africa. With little funding, the sport is almost non-existent in certain parts of the Rainbow Nation. However, there is a gym in Soweto that is aiming to change that by introducing more children to the sport in the hope that one day it will produce an Olympic weightlifter. CGTN CS Duplessis has more.
In the heart of central Soweto, amongst the hustle and bustle of one of South Africa's biggest townships, the banging and clanging of weights can be heard. Despite the constant noise complaints from the neighbours, the grind continues for the only weightlifting club in the area and its founder, Khati Mabuya, who started off training 5 children 2.5 years ago, and now he has over 70.
Well, for me, it actually feels good because it is exactly what I, as a person wanted, you know. I actually saw the difficulties that we are faced with as a community. So for me, it was actually about helping my community through the kids.
The location of the club is steeped in history and boasts legendary tales of human strength and mental fortitude, which is fitting, according to assistant coach Lesego Mokgotsi, affectionately known as Zeus, because he hopes the gym can draw inspiration from those who fought against injustice.
To think that the first Soweto weightlifting gym is here again in Central, so it's pretty amazing. Just the history of this area and the people of it, so it's good to be part of it and to know that I'm leaving a legacy also. So
life isn't easy in South Africa, and often the daily rigors and socio-economic circumstances leave people feeling dejected. But through the efforts of the club, more people are taking an interest in the sport and feeling part of a movement that is uplifting children in the community.
As a young black man in South Africa, it's not easy, especially with the COVID and everything, whereby you go out looking for jobs and stuff. It's not. But then after I go out and then I come back and then I see these kids call me coach, or just walking on the street and someone says, "Hey, sir, coach, thank you for the weekend," or "Thank you for the training we received during the weekend." It's something. You forget about life, you forget about everything. So yeah, I'd say this is church, this is holy ground. So yeah.
Mabuya, the 2019 81-kilogram South African weightlifting champion, says that Soweto has a lot of talented young weightlifters and is excited to see what the future holds for his club and the sport.
Well, in the beginning, it was just about taking the kids off the streets. But now, I've grown some professional weightlifters. And for me, I would really love to see one of our kids actually make the world stage. Even if it's not Olympics, but to actually just one of our kids representing the country, that will actually mean a lot to me.
The Soweto Lifting Club is an outlet to many children and teenagers who find themselves with very little inspiration and hope in one of the townships where drugs, violence and alcohol abuse is part of their daily lives. This small space behind me offers that motivation, a sanctuary from the streets and a place where the clanging of weights on the ground signals progress, growth and a lifeline to those seeking a better future. CS Duplessis, CGTN, Soweto, South Africa.
Well, for more on the Kip Keino Classic, as we mentioned earlier, we are delighted to be joined by sports journalist and sports management consultant Wanjiko Mwenda. Wanjiko, thank you for sticking around. We thought we lost you there. Well, Wanjiko, the Kip Keino Classic is only 2 years old, but it's already established itself as a signature meeting. Why is this the case, Wanjiko?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, and sorry for the hiccup just there a few minutes ago, but I'm glad that I'm joining you tonight. And yes, very good question right there. And I think I can only divide it into three, maybe. There are very many reasons why the Kip Keino has rapidly grown in the 2 years that we've had it in Kenya, but I will divide that into 3 points. One, because Kenya is an athletic nation. We have organized athletics events in the recent past, the last 5-6 years. We had the World Under 18 World Athletics Championships in 2017. We had the World Under 20 this year as well. And then the Kip Keino Classic. And what these events have shown is that Kenyans really accept and really receive the athletics competitions very well, that are those events that are taking place in the country. Whether they will be there or they'll be watching virtually or they will just be talking about it on the social media platforms, there is a good receiving point from the Kenyan fans and followers of the athletic sport. The other point will be that last year, the organizers, that is the local organizing committee, as well as the mid-agency organizer, that is Golazo, really put the best foot into this so that they could make an impact into the Kip Keino Classic as a continental tour. So they really did a good job last year, and it was well received, and they had no choice but to have a better event this year. So had a good foundation last year. We had around 5,000 people even attending it at the Nyayo National Stadium. And then that, because of that reception that we had, even during COVID times in October last year, they, organizers and even World Athletics, saw that it's better then to bring this event into a better event and make it even bigger. And they had to move even the stadium, the venue from the Nyayo National Stadium to the Kasarani Stadium, which was a plus for Kenya, a plus for the organizers, a plus for even the mid-agency organizers, Golazo. And that is the only way we can do, just get better and better. And of course, the presence of the international athletes this year gave it a plus. The likes of Justin Gatlin, the likes of Fred Curley from the US, Mike Rogers and Kristen Mboma from Namibia, all the Olympics champions, medalists, and the World Athletics Championship medalists making their way to Kenya was quite a plus as well for the organizers and also Athletics Kenya as a whole.
All right, Wanjiko, Kenya is definitely a powerhouse in athletics. I say it's about time. But let me ask you this. Did the 2021 Kip Keino Classic state a strong case for the event to be upgraded to the World Athletics Diamond League event in the future years?
A good question. I will say at a higher percentage, yes. But there's also what we call the 80-20 rule that applies in every aspect about life. Yes, we had a first year last year, very good event, another better event in 2021. But this is a platform that we've been given in the next 5 years, in a period of 5 years, Kenya to organize a continental tour. How we are going to handle this now is what will prove whether or not we are going to be promoted to the Athletics Diamond League category. Remember that in Africa, we only have the Diamond League taking place in Rabat, Morocco. It has happened there in a couple of times, a couple of years and seasons. But if we continue in this kind of form for the Kip Keino Classic, then maybe in the fourth edition, 2 years from now, there's a likelihood we can get that promotion to the Athletics Diamond League stage. However, that said and done, we need to do a lot of improvement in organization. Remember, sports events organization is quite a huge stakeholder of the sports ecosystem. And every country that is being granted this kind of opportunities to host global events then really need to put an A game in events organizing. Now, we had already done 2 years of it. There's we can only get better. We can only put the best foot forward. We can only sharpen our skills, especially in events organizing, and make sure that we are on that level of the Diamond League category.
All right, Wanjiko, before I let you go, you mentioned Justin Gatling, one of my favorite athletes, one of the few men to beat Usain Bolt in the 100 meters. What were your highlights from the event that will stick with you for a long time? Do tell us.
That very point that you talked about, the Justin Gatlings of this world. I had an opportunity to organize a press conference just the day before the event, because we were part of the organizing committee as well, which was also a highlight for me. And meeting and rubbing shoulders with the likes of Justin Gatling and Fred Carley, an athlete who has shown tremendous talent in the sprints, in the 400, 100, and 200. You're not likely to just meet athletes who are all-rounded like that in different race categories. But also, other than that, that's a personal part of it. I was very humbled to see a Kenyan sprinter record an African record on the 100 meters race categories on Kenyan soil on high altitude. That means that Africans can do better, we can grow better. We need to change the narrative of just being long distance or middle and long distance athletes, but we can also nurture what we are seeing, the rise of sprinting in the country, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Namibia, Botswana, as well as West African countries. So we really need to put a lot of investment in sprinting races as well.
All right, Wanjiko, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sports Scene. Well, we're just getting warmed up on Sports Scene. As we continue, here's what's ahead. It's a historic welcome for Tunisia on their return home after bagging a third men's African nations volleyball title in a row.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Well, welcome back to Sports Scene in what is already a busy, busy Saturday. How about we talk about volleyball? Tunisia's national volleyball team retained their men's African Nations Volleyball Championship title after outclassing Cameroon 3-1 in the finals played in Kigali, Rwanda. It was their third successive crown and 11th overall since 1967. CGTN's Adnan Chouachi caught up with the kings of African men's volleyball on their heroic return home and filed this report.
The national squad received a hero's welcome in the capital city Tunis. Head coach Jacob Antonio expressed satisfaction with the performance of the Tunisia men's volleyball team.
It was a very important target, not easy target, and the team performed very well. That's why now we are very happy and very proud about the job that we did.
Tunisia's captain asserted that the tournament in Rwanda was very challenging physically.
This generation of players has been through an exceptional experience with 3 successive African tournaments, the Olympics, the World Championship, and the 14th place in the world. This proves that we have a good squad. We need to face stronger teams in order to improve our game.
And Mehdi's teammates say they are also proud of their performance and ready for the next challenge.
Keeping the African title is an achievement after the 2017 and 2019 tournaments. We did not fall into the trap of thinking that we were the best. We worked hard and played to win. That's why we succeeded.
The president of the Tunisian Volleyball Federation says the new objective of the national squad is to win the Volleyball Men's World Championship.
Becoming #1 in the world is our next project. The Russia 2022 World Championship will be a real test for Tunisia's team. The Tunisians can snatch this title from the world's top teams.
The National Volleyball Technical Committee announced that Jacob Antonio will remain Tunisia's head coach until the next World Cup in Russia. Tunisia, winner of the African Volleyball Nations Championship in Kigali, has risen to the 14th place in the ranking of the International Federation of Volleyball and has retained its leadership in Africa and the Arab region. Adnan Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Egypt's Ministry of Health and Population organized a cycling mini-marathon aimed at spreading awareness about mental health issues. The 12-kilometer city tour is the first event to be held in a year-long program dedicated to mental health for children and the youth. CGTN's Adel Al-Mahroui tells us more.
From July 2021 until June 2022, Egypt has dedicated this year to address common mental health issues. Noting a major impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the young, the Health Ministry decided to use sports to make the topic more appealing for teenagers and children.
We had a lockdown, no schools or universities. Work became online, so for all kids, screens and virtual worlds became their only reality. Anxiety and depression increased, self-harm increased, social fear is spreading. They don't want to meet people. Why will they when they can't communicate virtually? That was the foundation for us to declare a year for mental health, and we know that for this age, lecturing is not effective.
Psychological performance of humans represent 30% of their overall performance in life, no matter what their field is, in sports, in education, in research, even in labor work. The better the psyche of a person, the more they become receptive to learning and ideas, and vice versa. The poorer the psychological performance, the less productive a person will be.
The first event the government organized this year was a 12-kilometer city tour on bikes. To their surprise, 100 participants showed up to this first of its kind event in Egypt.
Sports are appealing to adults and youngsters. When you talk in fields that have popularity and interest people, the more the concept of mental health will be acceptable to the public. Mixing mental health and sports is proven to be very effective, and it helps us a lot in reaching people.
Such activities aim to reintegrate the young in a social-friendly environment. Experts from the General Secretariat of Mental Health provide awareness and training for both parents and their youngsters so they can be able to talk about and address mental health issues.
We have a program for young volunteers to support their peers. The program aims at teaching skills so that when one is among his friends, they can give cues to those who don't engage with the group. The volunteers will be able to give simple mental health information which will be more acceptable to listen to. It will also help a youngster to understand when they need professional help.
The Health Ministry is finalizing agreements with the Sports and Culture Ministries to make this program reach more youngsters. Throughout this dedicated year, mental health experts will go to competitions, libraries and theaters to spread awareness in places that people enjoy. Believing in the power mental health could have on society, Egypt wants to create awareness among the public. Only 10% of the people with mental health issues seek professional help. It's why the country wants its citizens to be able to express their feelings and realize whether they or anyone around them needs professional help. Adel Al-Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Motorsport fans in South Africa are in for a treat. The Formula E World Championship, the pinnacle of electric car racing, is coming to Cape Town next year. It's one of the fastest growing sports series in the world, started to raise awareness around sustainable mobility and reducing carbon emissions in the motor industry. CGTN's Julie Shire reports.
The world's fastest electric engines will soon grace the streets of South Africa's picturesque Cape Town. Since 2014, the Formula E Championship has traveled to several iconic cities, including Paris, Rome, London and New York. Next year, Cape Town is in pole position and will kick off the 2022 Formula E season.
Formula E is incredibly exciting. You know, we represent the future. We're about the shift towards sustainable mobility, the adoption of electric vehicles, but also showcasing the excitement of a great sport where you have the world's biggest and best car manufacturers, you have the world's best driver lineup, arguably, racing in a highly competitive world championship.
24 of the world's best drivers will compete for glory in top-notch Formula E cars in the shadow of towering Table Mountain, surrounded by breathtaking ocean views.
They really match a Formula One car, but they're quicker. So you're going to see dynamic racing in the most beautiful environment as we see around here. This is the heart of the track that we are talking from. And people are going to be enthralled by the excitement of the race.
So expect incredibly close racing. It's street circuit in its style. So the circuit is, we haven't seen the final circuit map, but it's in the C point, 3 point area of the city. All our races are on streets. So we bring racing to audiences, unlike traditional racing where they're on a race circuit, in some cases maybe 2-3 hours from where the city is. We race in the heart of a city. So if you think of iconic city tracks like Monte Carlo in the south of France, think of something like that.
It's the first time since 1993 that a major international FIA racing event is being held on sub-Saharan Africa, bringing renewed interest and hope for the future of motorsport in the country.
And we go green in New York City.
It is about moving forward and our position on being the sort of green economic lead on the African continent. We've got so many youngsters who I get so excited about. They say no to gangs and drugs and they get involved in their motor cars. They do drag racing and racing at Killarney. I can see their own future here, getting excited about battery-powered vehicles and becoming those engineering specialists and technology specialists.
Evans is suddenly climbing up the order.
Some welcome news for South Africans who have faced a tough 18-month lockdown. The hope now is sufficient herd immunity can be achieved through vaccinations so that motoring enthusiasts turn out in their numbers. Julie Shara, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
Well, that's it for this edition of Sports Scene. Remember, you can send us your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. Thanks for watching. We leave you with the images of some of the sporting highlights this week, where Latvian free runner Pavel Purkins has turned a scaled-up pinball machine that measures 23 tons and is 20 meters long into his own personal playground in London. Let's take a look.